And we're live! Welcome to Self-Care Sunday. I'm here. My name's Zach Valenti. If you don't know me, I'm in Bushwick, Brooklyn, broadcasting with my cat Tiffany down here. And it's a lovely day, and it's so wonderful to be with you. I just want to shout out all the beautiful people in the chat. Mitzrayim, Ophelia C., Neve. I think that you've told me how to pronounce your name correctly, Niam M. But correct me if I was wrong. Rini DiCarlo, Alexi W., Rhinosaurus Rex. Oh my God, so many friendly faces. Kate Fairchild, what up? And Sarah M. Type your 452. Oh my God, so many people. Abigail Escron. Oh, everybody, welcome. So great to have you here. If there are any tech problems, any questions, anything at all, leave it in the chat. If I don't reply, just like keep copy pasting it because it moves quick in there. So wonderful to have you all here. Awesome. Yep. Neve. Thank you. If I ever butcher your name, just let me know. I'm not trying to get it wrong on purpose. And I would certainly love to get it right. Oh, so great to have everybody here. Mason McCullen, it's so great to see you. Great to be seen. So we have an exciting and full schedule today. I have a pre-recorded guest interview from October with an artist that I really admire. And this is Seitu Jones. And he was introduced to me by a former guest on the show. If you remember, I had an episode with Maximilian Defoe of half a bajillion podcasts, including but not limited to Mollyville. And in fact, one sec, let's get that screen share love going. I'm coming back, Tiffy. I'm coming back. Oh. This is Seitu Jones. We're going to be learning more about his work. Oh, Tiffy, come back. Oh. Anyway, she'll be back. I'll keep it warm for her. Yes. He was the winner of Art Prize last year, and this interview was recorded back in October when he was at Art Prize before he before the announcement was made that he won for his Heartside community meal, where they set up a 300-foot-long table and had a community meal. He's just an amazing artist that integrates all sorts of different aspects of life and just I'm really excited to share. I had to sync the sound and get that working, and finally took the time and had the time to make that happen. And thank you to Maximilian Defoe, Renaissance Unicorn. She was actually the guest that was on that created Renaissance Unicorn with us. That meme. She has the show Thematic, which is all about creativity. I think anybody who loves the interviews here would love that show. And she also has some really cool audio dramas, such as Afterlife and Mollyville and a couple other shows. So definitely check them out. That's MaximilianDefoe.com, 2 X's, and SeituJones.com. And I'll be playing his interview in a little bit. But first, coming back, I just wanted to announce a couple things. One, if you are somebody who entered the audio drama contest as part of last November's Write a Script in November, Ryscrivember, I am going to be sending out the voting email very soon, tomorrow. Voting starts tomorrow. I think it runs for a week or two. Check your email tomorrow for more on that. If you haven't read the scripts, go back, read the scripts. Only people who submitted got the scripts to read, and they'll be voting. Thank you for entering. I'm really excited to produce one of those audio dramas. And all the proceeds for that are going to go to United for Puerto Rico as part of last year's Rijksschrijfember. And I am really excited about all of that. Next up, tune in to this channel tomorrow. Definitely make sure that you're here if you love Wolf 359. We're going to be streaming as many of the cast and crew as can make it as part of our public, like non-Patreon exclusive. This is open to everybody. As our post-finale live stream right here on my YouTube channel. If you haven't subscribed already, definitely subscribe and set up notifications so that whenever I go live or drop a video, you are one of the first people to know. It's like I personally come and tap you on the shoulder and be like, hey, I got something for you. So yeah, that's happening tomorrow. I believe like 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Yeah, it's going to be real. And let's see. On the note of thanking, and I see Maximilian Defoe is in the chat, and if you guys have questions for her, definitely hit her up. She's close friends with Seitu. He's like a mentor and a family friend of hers. In the spirit of her sort of nominating Seitu to be interviewed here, I wanted to give you guys a chance to let me know who you'd love to see here, because I'm on a bit of a tear for just setting up interviews so that there's always somebody with a refreshing perspective, point of view, just somebody who you admire or would want to learn from, right here on Self-Care Sunday every week. So I actually put a form in the comments, in the notes, the description below, where you can fill out your information and the information of somebody you'd love to nominate. It could be somebody from your own life. It does not have to be an internet celebrity. It does not have to be anybody other than somebody you would want me to ask questions of. If there's somebody in your community that you're like, wow, how do they stay focused? Or how do they, manage all of these things? If you get their permission to, introduce me and, want to get their information and give it to me, there's room for that in the forum. If there's just somebody you have an internet crush on that you maybe never met and would love to hear from, you can just give me that information and I'll reach out to them myself and see if they're willing to come on the show. I just wanted to plug nominating people to be interviewed right here. Hashtag Self-Care Sunday. And what's cool about this system is it enables me to delegate to y'all just like who you'd like to see, because I think that's one of the most stressful parts about organizing this every week is managing, like thinking about who I should have, inviting them, scheduling that, like setting up. And so this is just like one way that we can make the dream work with teamwork. That is that. I guess without further ado, let's jump into my interview with Seitu Jones. I'll be in the chat if you guys have questions. This was recorded back in October. I had allergies at the time, so please excuse my like kind of woozy, like snotty self. The quality is a little bit leaves something to be desired. They were on the road. Seitu was on the road. My internet is always questionable, so the quality kind of jumps in and out, but I think it's all right. I edited it down a little bit to get rid of the really, really hard to hear parts for the most part. This, ladies, gentlemen, and everyone else, is Seitu Jones.
My name is Seitu Jones, Seitu Ken Jones. I'm from St. Paul, Minnesota. It's where I currently live. I was born just across the river in Minneapolis. I'm a visual artist. That's the way I describe myself, but I work cross-discipline. I do work in wood, clay, steel, work that's part of the public landscape, a part of the streetscape in some way, in many urban areas, particularly in the Twin Cities. And I also try to blend art and nature to create works that are a little more ephemeral.
I've been making art for almost 40 years. And during that, actually over 40 years, I have to stop and think sometimes. But I am a child of the 60s and early 70s and got mixed up in this, or influenced and informed by this rich mix of politics and culture. And one of the tenets of the many philosophies that I discovered is, uh, that I was influenced by was that you should leave your community more beautiful than you found it. And so that has been the foundation for my overall philosophy. That's my philosophic foundation, that you should leave your community more beautiful than you found it. And really, there are many artists like myself that were impacted by those times and using social justice or having a big community engagement component or social engagement component as a part of their work. And so for me, it began a while back, but even went back further. I have been interested in nature for a long time. I had an auntie that used to call me Little George Washington Carver because I was so interested in nature. And I used to like bristle when she called me that because I would thought, well, damn, why would I want to be like that bald-headed old man? And here I am, this bald-headed old man now.
That's
But
funny.
one of the things that I didn't realize until I was actually out of college and this is one of the things that she may have known, is that George Washington Carver was a painter and studied painting. I mean, I'm using George Washington Carver, and I'm saying and invoking his name because he is such an icon. We all know. I don't have to go into the background about who he was. We all know the story of the peanuts. He didn't discover and invent peanut butter, but he came up with all these uses. And his biggest legacy was creating a farm extension program that was a part of Tuskegee that aided small African American farmers and even some white farmers, given them production techniques and ideas. But anyway, he started out as a painter, painting plants. And an art teacher of his said that you should study botany, and the rest became history from that. So here was a person that blended art and nature, and he was a scientist. And we really don't have a term to describe the path that me and so many other multidisciplinary artists have taken that really blend all these disciplines to create something. And to follow that line, my educational background is not in art. I don't have an art degree. I've got an undergraduate degree in landscape design, and my graduate degree is in environmental history. And so I use those as tools in my work as well to explore and really dig down and look at these natural systems.
Beautiful. Uh, do you have any sort of stories of, or any formative story of you connecting with art and maybe the intersection of nature and art as a young person? Sort of in your ascent to the identity of an artist.
Yeah, all the time. And really, of course,
started drawing when I was in elementary school, and like so many artists of my time and period, and even artists today, I learned anatomy from comic books, from drawing and
Wow.
repeating comic books. That was my teacher, and but even then, I was studying art. I was drawing insects. I was drawing plants, and really just making keen observations of the world around me. You know, I was fortunate living in South Minneapolis, in this primarily African American community, where one of the dividing lines was a creek, Minnehaha Creek. And I would go down to the creek with some of my friends during the summer almost every day. And on the weekends, I'd be with my father and a set of crazy uncles and my grandfather fishing. You know, so we were out exploring and interacting with nature in a lot of different ways. And it was almost impossible for me to get around having that impact me in some way. And so the work I still do, I'm still drawing plants many times. I always keep a sketchbook with me. And sometimes I'll even collect seeds
Wow.
as I'm going along. In my sketchbook now, I've got some cottonwood seeds from this spring even, you know, that I just picked up and flattened out, and leaves, and yeah, so all of that. And really all of that is also a way to detail the environment that I'm experiencing. Primarily, those have been urban environments.
Right. Can you talk a little bit about? I know you also consider yourself to be an urbanist. Can you
Hmm.
define what that is for you and why that's important in 2017?
Yeah, a couple things, and even backing up about definitions. And I said that it's hard right now. We don't really have a word to describe the path that I've taken, and I am not an exception. There are many, many other artists that are working in urban environments, but working in and describing themselves as environmentalists even. And so that's one thing. Put that aside. Now, you haven't used this term or haven't asked me about this, but another term that we're starting to hear an awful lot to the point where it's being overused is placemaking.
Hmm.
You know, I hear that over and over and over again, just like the term urbanist or urbanism. You know, language just can, language is very temporal. It comes and it goes. Uh, the term urbanist now uh, probably won't be in use in another 10 years, another 5 years, maybe even. You know, so I keep looking and searching between the cracks and crevices of language, of our culture, of our society, of the environment, and thinking about ways that I can use art to make these interventions, and using those cracks as a way to just like kind of stick my foot in the door before it closes so we can begin to open it wider.
Hmm.
So, yes, I consider myself to be a student of the urban environment. I grew up in an urban environment. I currently live in one of the densest parts of St. Paul, Minnesota, and I love the cities. Now, I do love getting outside of the city as a way to recharge, but I am a person that is born and bred and sees the future in our cities. And so the work that I do especially the large scale permanent work that I do, is work that I do to change and transform uh, the urban environment, or really to, uh, as I said before, to make these interventions in our streetscapes.
Beautiful.
I don't know if I answered your
Yeah,
question about
absolutely. You absolutely
urban.
did.
Part of the reason that I went on and on like that, I don't know the answer. I really can't define it.
One thing that my audience is always dying to know, and
Mm-hmm.
I am still figuring out, like, .com, is just the, what does it take? Is it possible? I think it is. So like it comes down to, what does it take to make a living making your art? And is that something that you recommend? Is that something that you think is important?
Yes, yes, and yes to all of that. Uh, I would be disingenuous if I told folks, don't make the same mistakes I did, kid, and go into this. This is, uh, and I hate to sound corny, but I really feel strongly that artists are part of the link to our salvation as humans, as folks who live in cities. Artists. I do a lot of work with food, and I do some work with agriculture. And one of the things I maintain is that was artists probably who probably helped start agriculture. Art is older than agriculture. We found artworks that are 80 to 100,000 years old. And folks feel that agriculture is probably only 8,000 years ago. I think as folks who could understand patterns, who could look at systems, and you can transpose this on contemporary times, who can look at these symbols, patterns, and signs, and then help make these systems that are sometimes invisible truly visible, and do that through all kinds of events, performances, film work, sculpture, visual arts, literary arts. Artists are continually exposing ourselves, and exposing and opening up the world so that we can find answers to many of the issues that are facing us.
Let's say,
Yeah.
what advice would you give to
Oh, yeah.
your college age self if you could go
Yeah,
talk to him now?
and I'm actually, I started wandering way away from the original question you asked. Yes, I do encourage folks to go into art. Now, it's not always viable initially. I also feel that folks need to be as persistent as they can, but really you need to follow your path and your heart, and try not to let anything. There are going to be a whole set of obstacles in front of you. I just retired from teaching at Goddard College, where I've been on the faculty, permanent faculty there, as an advisor, helping students strengthen their artistic voices. And I left to really to do a couple things. One is to open up space for folks in this next generation and on the faculty, but also to give myself more time for reflection. All too often in our current society, in our current daily lives, we don't spend enough time and in quiet time reading, time reflecting on life and on the world, and really on our role in the world. And if I were going to give myself advice now, that or the advice that I would give folks or give myself 40 years ago would be to think about myself as a full citizen, as an artist who is a citizen, to be involved in civic endeavors, to make sure that you are an advocate for doing the right thing, and also, like, make sure you get your taxes done right.
Yeah.
I mean, it's as simple as that. I mean, there are all these business aspects of being an artist and working for yourself that there aren't too many academic programs that integrate that into it. So you really do need to have an understanding of how the economy works, even.
Right.
I mean, living in this hyper-capitalist system, you also will be faced with a lot of not just obstacles, but your faith and your integrity will be questioned, and so you are also going to have to come to battle with that and asking yourself these questions about your own direction.
What is your relationship to self-care? Is that something that
Absolutely, part of the reason that I left is so I could spend more time fishing. If that's
and left teaching?
left teaching, I'm sorry. Part of the reason I left teaching is so I could spend more time fishing. And what I really mean is not so much catching fish as much as like catching time, spending more time on my own work, more time, as I was saying before, in reflection, more time in both the urban and rural and outside environments. Right before I sat down with you, Zach, to be interviewed, I was out running, and yeah, so that's part of the reason I have on this white shirt as well too. Maximilian made me change.
That's funny.
So, but saying all that to say, yeah, I don't eat red meat. I haven't eaten red meat in many, many years. I really make sure that I'm active. I make sure I walk. I ride. I'm a member of a bike club back in Minnesota. So I try and stay as active as I can. And I am so fortunate and blessed. Although I'm kind of sore this morning, I went out a little too hard. And I have to realize that my old body can't go as fast and as far as I used to be able to. But that's all in moderation. And that's all also recognizing this change that we have at different points in our lives. So I try to embrace my own and strive toward having a good sense of myself and a good sense of my role in nature.
And how would you define self-care? And why is it useful to you as an artist?
It you know, I am 66 right now. I want to be able to continue to make art for at least another 20 years or more. And to do that, I really am going to have to take care of myself. I never really, when I first began to practice self-care, I didn't really think a lot about longevity. And now that is much more concern of mine, especially as I see many of my peers become more frail, and folks who didn't practice the kind of care that they needed to be able to continue a healthy lifestyle. And so, yeah, right now my focus is is being able to take care of myself so that I can continue making art, if that's not crazy.
Not at all. That's brilliant. Thank you. The addresses to find you at, the handles.
At SeituJones.com. I'm on at Seitu Jones on Facebook. Yeah, so check me out.
Great. Awesome. Will do.
And then Google me. Fortunately, there aren't any. Fortunately, there's every now and then I have to Google myself to see what's out there, and so I wouldn't be saying that if there was bad stuff out there about me. So yeah, you'll be
That's
able to
great.
find me. Yeah. So
Awesome.
thank you, Zach. This is an honor, and I'm very flattered to be your guest.
Oh my God. How great. Whoa. How great was that interview? How awesome is Seitu? Make sure my volume's okay. Wow. It is so awesome to see you guys in the chat, and it's fun to get to be in there with you. Normally I'm interviewing the person and I have no idea what's happening in the chat. So maybe I'll do more of these sort of pre-taped deals. It certainly would be easier for me to grab a bunch of interviews that way, because scheduling people on Sundays is kind of a mess. But wow, I'm inspired by that, by everything he was saying, from just how he thinks of his art as an extension of his values and his personhood and his self. This idea of leaving a community better than we found it through the process of making our work as artists. I love that. I love his sort of autodidacticness, teaching himself anatomy through comic books as a visual artist, and also like using his art as a way to open doors in culture and in society, sort of as an activist. I I really appreciate his advice, and this is something that I'm struggling with, and learning from some of my more from my friends who don't struggle with this, which is how to do your taxes, both as an artist and just as a person. And I've like constantly needed a delayed submission, just because I always worry about not getting it done right, and I have trouble sitting down and focusing. And I have so many like different little buckets of businesses between Project Uplift and Wolf 359 and my freelance work and my freelance video work, freelance voiceover work, freelance podcasting work. And so yes, I really appreciate hearing that from somebody who is so just so accomplished. Again, Seitu Jones is the art prize winner of last year, which is an amazing contest that Maximilian put me onto. That she keeps thinking I should enter, and I'm thinking about it. I really should, with Project Uplift or something along those lines. And I think maybe my favorite part of the interview, just as it relates to hashtag Self Care Sunday, is basically that idea of, as an artist, as a creator, the importance of practicing self-care is connected to your ability to create, self-care is connected to your ability to keep creating work. And that's what makes it important. Tiffy has been missing. She is somewhere in the apartment. I assume that she might be upstairs basking in the sunlight on my bed. I won't go find her right now, but I'm glad she was here early. I think we got maybe the best Tiffy cam shot. I've totally changed the way that I do Tiffy cam. I have this like stack of books, and this little table, so we can get like a better shot. Previously I had this like overhead shot, but I felt like that was a little bit flat. But yeah, I'm so thrilled to get to share this with you. It's been bothering me that I've had this on my hard drive, but for so long and haven't shared it yet. I had to like sync my audio, which was recorded separately, because we could only get the interview working on like FaceTime, which I normally don't use. So yeah, I am really glad I got to share that, and I'd love for you guys to, when this video is not live, if you're, and welcome to everybody who's watching this not live. Hi. Please leave comments with other questions you'd like to ask Seitu. I saw Kate Fairchild would love to know more about his process. I'd love to get him back on the show, and actually dovetailing quite nicely into I will be bringing back Focused AF, the podcast, as a weekly series. I don't know exactly when I'm gonna start. Sometime earlier this year, like I would say latest April. I'll start shipping weekly episodes. I am intending to have a couple in the bank before I start publishing, unlike other endeavors that I've started. Hint, hint, Self-Care Sunday. I am taking some advice from my amazing community on Patreon, where I've been doing town halls every month, and people there have sort of been giving me some really great, frank feedback about how I've been doing how I've been doing things kind of doesn't work, and how I can rethink what I'm doing. So yeah, if you are interested in learning more about this weekly podcast, you should check out. You can see the red on my face because it's very red. Get ready. I'm so sorry. Oh God. Boom. This is the new Focused AF website. You can learn more. There's more below. You can just go straight to get the podcast here. If you haven't listened, there are 60 some odd episodes when I was doing it daily. If you are somebody who listened to the old show, it's no longer called Focused as fuck. It's called Focused AF. I'm doing that because I think it's less, it's more accessible without the expletive in the actual title. You can support the show, and that includes Self-Care Sunday, by checking out my Patreon, which I'm about to revamp. It's going to be a pay what you can, pay what you want, for all of the main tiers, and then if you want to hire me for consulting, that'll be an option. But that's funding sort of all these efforts, including this. I'm doing a trial run of an online community, which would be a place for us to hang out between weeks. Shout out to Rena and Alicia, who have helped me sort of get this off the ground. But yeah, the community is going to be sort of a focused place for us to get together and talk between weeks and stay focused on stuff. And last but not least, I have this new thing rigged up, so you can actually send me a voicemail, voice message. You don't need to have a American, whatchamacallit, yeah, you don't need to have a US phone number. You don't need to use Skype. You just need a web browser and a microphone, and you can just jump in here and get to that. You can leave me questions or, call-ins for this show, Self-Care Sunday, and I'll be, as I bring back Focused AF, sort of asking people to call in with stuff, and this is a way to do it without using Anchor or any of these other sort of separate, random tools. It can all be in one place to help me stay focused, and it's a little bit of context about the show. Yeah, this was a fun couple of days of figuring out how to code. So yeah, that is Focused AF, and I look forward to seeing you guys in the community. And again, thank you, Rena and Alicia, for helping me get that together and get that off the ground. I guess if anybody has questions, I was going to take the next 5 to 10 minutes to just have a back and forth, chatting with you guys. If you have questions in the chat about anything creative, about Seitu, I know Maximilian is here in the chat as well, and yeah, so that is that. And I just want to thank each and every one of my 36 patrons on patreon.com/Zach Valenti. Because of your contributions, I'm able to run experiments like Rye I'm able to launch like things like this new community that is a premium piece of online software that, thanks to your contributions, I can pay for and carve out a little corner of the internet that we can use. And yeah, the address there is community.focused.af. If you want to get to that forum, it's community.focused.af. Yeah, I'm gonna hang out for a minute and see if there are any questions. I know one of my interests and commitments, this year, sort of, inspired by Seitu, is this idea of, there are all these sort of parts of ourselves that we may not think about, or our role in the world. And I know I've been so sort of torn apart by social media, as much as it's given me a platform to get to connect with y'all. That is something that I'm going to be using Focused AF for myself, is to hold myself accountable to not getting sort of distracted while I think about my role in the world in a way that I can really come back and reflect. So let's see. We have a couple questions coming in. Victoria Frey, we can definitely expect some calm.af episodes. If you didn't listen to Focused AF, calm.af, calm.af were essentially guided meditations that I'd always wanted to do. So I'm going to be doing more of those. And if there are themes or subjects that you'd like me to make those about in below this video, just like leave a comment in the perma video about what sort of things you'd like that around. So that's that. And Mitzrayim asks, any advice on writing a script per month? Writing a script per month. I think doing anything regularly, and this is something that I've been slowly figuring out here, was to basically look at how can you make something a habit. And so I would, based on B.J. Fogg, who's a professor and a researcher on human behavior at Stanford, has this whole theory of habits, and Tiny Habits is a program he invented and designed, where, basically you want to look for, what's the word? You want to look for things that you can anchor the habit onto. So if you want to write a script every month, you can break down what is a script, what does it take from beginning to end? What are sort of the parts that make 100% of the pie of a script a month? And if it is, it takes, 100 hours to sit down and write a script, probably not. Let's say more like, if you're doing a 5-page script, it takes like 3 hours. You can just plan out, when my alarm goes off, I will sit down and write for 15 minutes every day, and just organize your life around that habit. And if you carve out those 15 minutes a day, for 30 days, you'll see at the end of the month, maybe you need to make it 20 minutes. Maybe you could get away with 10. I would look at it that way, just so that at the end of the month, it's not like, oh, where did all the time go? And there are other ways to do it. I would make something that works for you. Like if you have Saturday afternoons free and it's very unlikely that you'll get hijacked for something else, then you could, sort of block it out and have 3 hours, once a week, if you're trying to do something longer. But I would look at how to make it a daily habit. And definitely hit up Maximilian Defoe if you have other thoughts there, or other questions. Victoria Frey, I just want to shout out, I appreciated your comment of Calm AF is what started your meditation journey. You're so welcome. You said thank you. I'm like, oh my God, thank you for stepping up to the plate and giving it a shot. I think that the key to peace in the world is starting by cultivating peace in ourselves, and that's why I wanted to share Calm AF. So that's really awesome. Bye, Maximilian. I see you have to go. Awesome to have you here. So great you're hosting a television show pitch workshop. Bye. Let's see. Last two questions from Crystal Tiny Falcon and Thea Sinclair. So Crystal Tiny Falcon asks, any advice for freaking out about mock exams? Take a breath. Take a breath. Take a breath, take another breath, and then another breath. Yeah, basically, the thing that I've been really appreciating, I've been reading a lot more lately, and I apologize in advance for constantly referring to the fact that I've been reading a lot more lately and mentioning the same book over and over again. It's sort of a thing that I do. But yeah, I think that the thing that I was recently reading in Principles, a book by Ray Dalio, that he repeats over and over again, which is good because I read when I listen to audiobooks really fast. So when they repeat things, it's good. And I think the thing that's relevant for this is things seem a lot bigger when you're up close. And if you can sort of take yourself outside of yourself and look at yourself from a 30,000 foot view, you might appreciate that the thing that you're freaking out about is from a distance smaller than it seems right now. And I'm not a master of that at all, but I have been feeling a lot more grounded about some of my concerns as Wolf 359 is wrapped up, and I have some anxiety around what the hell is next, and if it'll be any good compared to Wolf, and so yeah. So I think my advice for freaking out is keep breathing and do whatever it takes, whether it's journaling or meditation or going for a walk, to just sort of get out of your head and take a look from a higher perspective on how this fits into the bigger picture of your life. Thea Sinclair asked about tips on world building. My advice on world building is to steal what you love from the things that you love. And if there's a way for you to just always have a capture tool on you, what I mean by that is whether it's a notebook or an app on your phone or sending text messages to a friend, just having a way that you can capture little nuggets, because world building is a slow burn. It's a watched pot never boils if you're cooking, and I think the same thing applies to world building. If you if you try to rush the process, it sort of misses the point. So whatever you can do to make the process yours and sort of slowly build that up. Oh my God. So many questions coming in. This is great. I am going to run, but I just appreciate Kiki Dolly. I'm so glad you recently discovered Wolf 359 and listened to it within a few days. That's amazing. Am I working on anything that's story-based? all I can tell you right now, there are a lot of ideas floating around, but I most recently wrote a short script for the Audible Brave and Bold contest, which y'all should know about. Um, Audible Brave and Bold. It's with the Sarah Awards, and second, let's see. It is a $15,000 development deal. And yeah, I would just like check this out. If you are a writer and interested in audio dramas, this is one way that you could get a show on the air and make some money as an artist doing it. I'm going to be applying at some point, but yeah, I'm just kicking around an idea, not something that is ready for public consumption. But yeah, check that out. I see Kate Fairchild referencing the Fart Run, the video game that I'm working on with my roommate. LOL. I think the story mode is going to be a much later edition of the game. We're still working out the core mechanics and the infinite play mode. And I guess the last thing I'll say is Mitzrayim. No offense, Zach Libresco is everybody's favorite Zach. I've come to terms with it. But such a joy to have you guys here for Self Care Sunday. I love you so much. I can't wait to hear from you guys this week in the community. And I will be in there, sharing my own thoughts and asking my own questions, and look forward to seeing conversations between y'all. And yeah, I will see you guys next week, and definitely tune in next week for right now we're scheduled, but it might change, an amazing indie board game creator, and us figuring out life in real time together. So yeah, you're the best around. Now it's time for finding the button. Somewhere there's a button. Yes. This other button. This is Rena in the chat is plug in that community.focus.af. Can talk about creativity. Can talk about mindfulness. You can ignore this time. I'm still figuring out the calendar here, but eventually this will be the sort of like official event calendar. Yeah. Peace out, y'all.